Hey yo.
Hello,
Welcome back.
hello. Yes, it seems like we are live on LinkedIn.
hmm
Oh my,
Finally got it all under control.
I know. We say.
Yeah, right. And then all of a
It's not
sudden.
like we were screaming in our heads or anything while we were trying to live. Well, I'm gonna keep an eye on the LinkedIn chat to see if it actually appears on Streamlabs this time around.
Okay.
I mean, I also have to see if they're. You know what I'd like to see? The
hmm
number of total viewers. I don't know if that's showing on your end as the
I
as the host.
I've got that like whole eyeball with the counter at the top, but
Mm,
I don't know how accurate it is because I'm on a third party
yeah.
streaming platform. Maybe that's why
Alrighty.
it
Let
rains
me
with the other
just
ones. Who knows?
quickly check on the YouTube live stream. Just see that we're fine.
There's always like
Right.
that. I don't know.
All right. We got the YouTube live stream. We got the LinkedIn live stream. We are good. Okay. If anyone is watching today, please do let us know where you are watching us from. And yeah, so wanted to just hop into some of the news from this week. Something that isn't related to AI really, just some massive layoffs happening to ExpressVPN. This is something that matters to me because, as I said, a lot of these AI tools that we try to access is just randomly they will not be accessible in Hong Kong or in other specific countries. So there is a bit of like inequality there when it comes to technology, which kind of sucks, but that's the reality you live in. But anyway, for the most part, what needs to happen is like we need to rely on VPNs to even access many of these AI tools. So yeah, like for me, I it's either NordVPN or ExpressVPN that I usually look at. I'm currently on NordVPN, but it was nice kind of having both as competitors, right?
hmm
But now news is coming out that ExpressVPN has actually laid off a pretty significant part of their workforce. And I know some people who work at the company, and I've kind of heard what's going on there as well. And PC Mag did a pretty good expose almost of what is actually happening at that company. Yeah, it's not looking too good. They've taken away a lot of the QA people, a lot of the managers of because it's a pretty big organization, so they have like a some form of hierarchy, right? Yeah, some major parts of those hierarchies are basically gone, and the way that so essentially what happened with ExpressVPN is like they got acquired by Cape Technologies, and
hmm
Cape Technologies owns PIA and CyberGhost and stuff. And even though the company's been profitable, they've just decided to lay off a bunch of people. So we don't know what's going on. And this is just very hurtful for a lot of the people at ExpressVPN. You know how like some companies call themselves a family and it seems very toxic and stuff.
Yeah.
ExpressVPN, at least from the people that I've met there, when they mean family, like they literally mean family because like they have built this product from the ground up using their own cultures and their values, and a lot of that is being taken away. So yeah, it's just a really shitty situation all around for like ExpressVPN, and I am not really sure what that's gonna make the VPN landscape look like. Because at the moment, like, I would expect more features and stuff to be developed, and I think a few like Surfshark, I don't know if it's Surfshark, but I know a few VPNs are actually still making progress with their product, right? And I'm sure
Yeah.
AI is going to play into that at some point. But with the news that's coming out with ExpressVPN, I am not very confident that they will be able to implement those kinds of things. Yeah, so just keep an eye out on what's going on there in the VPN space. No, I mean, not only I mean, it is kind of like sort of related to AI, but also not, you know?
Well, I mean, it is in the sense that, look, when GPT first hit the market, right? What happened? Immediately, countries were shutting it down, right? Shutting down access to be able to get on OpenAI servers
Yeah.
or be able to get GPT access. And what initiated right after that was people going on VPNs in order to get access to it. So yeah, to me, I mean, it's just as relevant. It's a bloodstream, let's say, or a vein to be able to access these things. And for people like yourself, for people in various other countries that are still looking down on this type of technology or trying to limit people's access to it, those are the ways. That is the way in which people use to gain that democratization, let's say, of data access of user access.
Yeah, basically. And we're talking about how AI is going to change the future of work as well, right?
Mhm.
And it's just going to be the case that if we don't have good VPNs that we can rely and we can trust, it will make it harder for countries that are currently blocked to be like kind of be part of this entire AI race, if that makes sense. Because
Yeah.
like sure AI is kind of, I want to say it's in its infancy, but it's kind of in this weird early stage where people are recognizing its benefits, but there's also an equal amount, if not more, random people who are in our space who don't realize how much it's going to change the future of work.
Mm.
But how are you going to really get people to understand that if the access to it is not available to these specific people, right? And it's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just like a regional thing. It's also about money to some degree, right? Because
Right.
some of these tools are paid, some people don't have credit cards maybe. But yeah, like VPNs currently are a big part of the whole regional thing. And like at least for me, I prefer purchasing more premium VPNs when I am trying to, use all of these different tools. Like I am trying to get that stability and just being able to consistently access Chat GPT, for example.
Mhm.
Um, and also just the speed of it, because if things aren't like loading properly, then it's not even access at all, right?
Right. Yeah.
Just
I
keep an eye
mean,
out.
yeah. Yeah. So I told you a little bit earlier that I had some big news, and I
Oh,
posted about it
yeah.
yesterday. And sucks for anybody that's missing it. I will post about it later today because I don't like keeping a black hat on education of any type, especially when it comes to like this type.
Yeah.
But I thought that it would be worth everybody's time to know that GPT-5 is definitely on its way.
Oh, wow. When
And
is it coming out?
it is likely slated for December.
Whoa. That's not too far off.
No. And what gave it away is that OpenAI, July 18th. So it took a minute, right? Because here it is, it's August, and nobody found out about it until this past week that OpenAI filed for the license and for the rights for the name for GPT-5 for branding.
Yeah.
So, here you have Altman saying in May or April, early April, that no, we have no plans. We're not even thinking about it. This, that, and the other. I kind of knew at that point that that was a way to get people to not think about that and to focus
Yeah.
more on GPT-4, right? Uh, from a tactical perspective, if you're saying that you're not going to be working on something, that kind of forces people who are already doing stuff to sort of maybe push that limitation further because, okay, well, if that's not going to be out for a while, let's see how much more we can do with this. And
Yeah.
that makes perfect sense. The only thing that really gets me about this is not so much the, like we were talking about before, like how much is this stuff going to impact just already with like GPT-4? It's starting to create huge holes in the Hollywood industry. It's creating huge holes in the programming industry. It's starting to create huge holes in journalism, and now it's starting to create huge holes in tech. And that's just AI. That's not even super intelligent AI, which, if you have been in the know of this stuff, is a massive difference. What we are playing with, Kristeen kind of hit on it earlier, but I'm not even joking when I say that what we're playing with now, this is an abacus. This is an abacus of this tech. This is not a calculator. This is an abacus. To be honest with you, it's pencil and paper. Like, I don't even know. Whichever one seems simpler, that's what it is. Like pebbles, that's what we're playing with here. What's coming out in December, I kind of knew this was happening because with Auto GPT and Auto Agents, and then Hugging Chat, if you know, like Auto GPT is like having a multitude. It's almost like what we have with Code Interpreter now. It's like having a multitude of GPTs to be able to do these separate functions that are necessary to create the overall goal. So whereas if you're working with just GPT by itself, you're just talking to one model and that one model's ability to help you. Auto GPT, you're talking to a model who has additional agents. So if the model isn't able to do something on its own, it can ask an agent to kind of go and do something to see if it can now complete the goal with this additional help. Hugging Chat was kind of a level, in my opinion, above that, where you had access to every model on Hugging Face as an agent to be used in chat. So now you could do, visualizations, you can use audio, you can do a whole series of other things. Having seen all of this and having seen what people are capable of building with it, and the advancements that we're already making with putting GPT into like visuals into glasses and doing all sorts of stuff, I had a feeling that we were going to be breaking the AGI barrier really soon, a lot sooner than people had expected. And I put my finger on 2 years from last year, from December. So I didn't think it was going to be end of this year. I thought it would be like beginning of next year, towards the end of next year. And maybe that still holds true. I don't know. But GPT-4 is not like, I don't know how to put this stuff into scope. And I'm not, I wish I were more of a computer scientist so I knew exactly how to do that. I don't really. So I'm really just taking like a layman's stab at it. But, if GPT-4 is an abacus, GPT-5 is like, it's like an auto calculator. It's not quite as basic as a calculator. It's a little bit further along than that, in my opinion.
Probably like a scientific calculator where you already have like some of the formulas in there, right? You don't have to specifically like calculate everything.
Right. Because and I don't necessarily know, I just know that it's taking months and an insane amount of hardware in order to train this thing, and they've been working on it. So this whole thing of like, we're not even working on it, I don't know what that was supposed to mean. But they have been training it for some time. I think it's probably going to take at least another couple months. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't, even Altman, from a quote that I read yesterday, said that he feels that this will be very, very close to artificial general intelligence, which, even if it isn't, even if it's super intelligent AI, we are in for quite the ride.
Yeah. I mean, just the jump from GPT-3 to GPT-4 was huge.
Massive.
So, like, and again, we're not really at a maturity stage where you can expect like really small increments of changes. Right now, we're at the point where it's still in its, I want to say like maybe it's sort of in its early stage, right? Where any big update is going to be huge. And what we saw from GPT-4, and I kind of hate sounding like I'm an expert at this because I'm not really not, but at least from what I'm seeing with like, GPT-4, right? People were already able to create like autonomous agents just by being able to connect it to different APIs and different applications, right? So even with the browsers, there are Chrome extensions now that can do things for you. Just imagine going from that to something way better than that. It's
Right.
hard for me to kind of imagine, but I
Yeah,
know it's going
that's,
to be a leap. So that's why I'm kind of like, yeah, I would expect it to be pretty close to AGI, if not already AGI by the end of this year. Um, and it will be like, it's probably going to be a, kind of infant AGI, but it's still going
yes.
to do a lot of stuff.
That's kind of what they considered Auto GPT to be. They flagged it as baby AGI, which
Yeah.
it was but wasn't, right? Like it didn't really,
Yeah.
because it didn't do on its own. It still had to be prompted to do things. So that's why it's like baby AGI. I think GPT-5 will involve using its modality. I think it will involve. I'm still waiting. I have yet to see a piece of hardware built off of this. So in other words, like, and what I mean by that, I mean like Alexa, right? Like I have
Yeah.
yet to, and I don't know. Maybe Microsoft is about to get into the game with this because that's a good jump off, right? Like, I mean, I'm sure that Amazon wants a hand on this too,
I
but
know Apple's started doing something with AI, but with Apple, they're the types who just they're always the people who come in late, but when they come in late, it's usually a
it's flashy.
very, very polished
Yeah,
and usable system.
yeah.
And at least for me, when I look at the Apple, just the Apple ecosystem, because it's so enclosed, I'm thinking whenever they build their AI technology, it is going to be pretty awesome because everything is under their control. It's easy to just kind of like pull in all these different things. And I think I don't know if they've kind of told the developers yet, but I imagine like they'd give the developers these options to add like little tasks or whatever that the AI can access, right? So
Hmm.
in that sense, you still have that level of control of like how much the AI can and can't actually do in these applications, and you still put control in the hands of the developers. But yeah, I have like high expectations for Apple. Microsoft and the others, I'm pretty sure they're gonna develop stuff pretty quickly. It's gonna be out next year, early next year, mid next year or something, because Microsoft's already implementing a lot of AI stuff into their tools right now. You have
Yeah,
the stuff in Microsoft Teams with the transcripts and the summarizations, which is pretty cool at the moment. But again, it's basic AI stuff that we have at the moment. And with the AGI thing too, the fact that people have been able to do it without the resources of these big companies, even just generating a baby AGI, it's
yeah.
massive. And you can already see some of the AGI um potential just in code interpreter, right?
Right,
Because you just put some data in, say that you need some insights from it, and as it's generating a lot of the just the response to whatever your query is, it'll say sorry if it can't do it, I'll do this instead. And then
hmm,
it'll ask questions as well, like do you want me to calculate in this way, do you want me to
right.
do this, do you want me to do that? So essentially, even if you come up with a very basic prompt, it's going to give you questions and direction on its own.
Yeah, yeah. And it like when I was talking to George in Hub Heroes the other day, it was the word I kept coming back to the entire time was ideation, right? Like it's a matter of, yes, we're all smart, yes, we're all creative, but we are not all knowing. So that's kind of the piece of the puzzle that's missing, is like, if you had known of, let's say, like there's plenty of times where I've heard people say that phrase, like, oh well, if I would have only known about that, then I could have changed this, or I would have put that in my idea. And that's kind of what this is for you. It's this basically huge uh it's a lexicon. It's a huge just resource of all knowledge, right? Like all human knowledge. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where eventually and very soon, I think it won't take too long at this point. It's already, I think, Claude has as many data points. It has so many data points. I think it has the memory of like the entire Library of Congress or something like that. Like
Yeah.
an insane amount of data, right? Or no, I want to say it was even more than that. It was something close to a ridiculous number, like every book on the face of the earth, something like that. Which, when you think about it, seems like a lot. But if we're talking about every physical book on the face of the earth versus every digital piece of information that's ever been written on the internet, those are two vastly different numbers.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah. At any rate, these models they're gonna just keep getting smarter. The amount of folding that's going on, it's not just protein folding. It's now like data folding that happens that makes these models even smaller but more powerful, right? So you're able to condense the model into a smaller amount of resource that's needed to run it, which now means that you can start multiplying it. And I don't even think we've done model to model training. I think they've actually gone against that because I want to say they said that was just going to create like a very muddied version, right? Because you have, if you want to use this word, you have imperfect AI learning off of imperfect AI. So there was a skepticism of like, well, it's garbage in, garbage out, basically, because it's
Yeah.
not clean data.
And I'd rather have multiple models than just having the one model to rule them all, right? It's almost
Right.
like how, when you take media literature classes, they tell you to look at different sources rather than just looking at one source, because one source, even if it does apply journalistic integrity or academic integrity or something, there is still going to be a level of bias in there. So I'd rather have it's what can I compare this to? It's like when you buy those stocks that come in a bundle, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather have like multiple different bundles than just have like
Right.
one bundle from that one company.
Right. Yeah.
So
You want to
you're just
diversify your
like hedging.
portfolio.
Yeah, you're diversifying your portfolio, you're hedging your bets and stuff like that. So I don't think it's a great idea. And also, I don't know if you've kind of looked into this. You know how a lot of people are using AI to create these Twitch channels or whatever, or these influencers.
Yeah.
And uh, from at least what I've seen is at some point it will start becoming racist because of how people are interacting with it and stuff.
Right.
So
I mean, it
then
like,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, that is something to take into consideration, right? I forget which was that first AI model that was that AI
I
chatbot
think it
that
was when
got put out.
Microsoft or something,
Yeah,
and
when they
made
first
like a
started,
big
right?
deal. Yeah, it became a big deal and stuff like that,
Yeah,
right?
because
And
it became
it's the same
racist in
thing.
like 12 hours or something. Like, you can't tell 4chan, hey, here's a toy on the internet, go play with it, right? And you think that those kids are going to come back with something that's like, that isn't, completely warped, right? And it doesn't even take people from 4chan. You have like 3 levels of toxicity, right? If it wasn't people from 4chan, it would have been people from Reddit. If it wasn't people from Reddit, it would have been people from Twitter. So
Or
we have
just
these
YouTube,
like,
just
yeah,
people in
yeah, just
general are
yeah,
trolls.
exactly.
Like
Yes.
I'm gonna admit sometimes I'm a troll too, and sometimes you just do it for fun, right? So, and that's the thing though. Every single person, even if they just input one trolly thing, that
Right.
that trains the model. So just imagine a model that just takes stuff from the internet or even stuff from books, because you can't completely trust stuff from books because
No.
again there's bias there, and
Yeah.
you have books that are heavily leaning to a certain ideology and then other books that are leaning to another ideology. So really, yeah, I'd rather just have the models kind of stick to their own kind of
Yeah.
lines.
Do what they do
I
best.
Yeah, I it'd be nice if the companies could come together once in a while to maybe share some insights, or I don't know, discuss morality or something like that, right? Just where are we headed as human beings or whatever, because those conversations are fine. But to mix and mesh technology, yeah, yeah, just let them do it and just have the free market like decide which one is like better.
Oh my gosh, that gives me an idea of like maybe doing a like a watch party type thing at one point,
Yeah.
because like there are a couple people currently that are uh, it just their videos are awesome because of their positions and what they put forward with like the questions I should say that they put forward with regards to AI and like ethical questions of where we're going and should we be doing this and should we be allowing this technology. You
Yeah.
know, the whole aspect of like should we is over. Like it's too late,
Yeah.
right? Like the whole even with like should we like AGI too late. Like that was already a thing when the models were created back in like 2008 or something like that. Like, Google was right to sit on this for such a long time. They were right to do that. Are we ready for it now? I don't know. I really don't. I feel like Christian Bale in Batman, like Dark Knight Rises, where it's like, yes, we have this awesome technology. No, I don't trust humanity with it. Like I just don't.
Yeah, I think it's that, and then also one, I don't trust humanity with it, but also I don't know if humanity can really understand the impacts of this as well. So
Yeah,
I feel like there's going to be some sectors where AI could have done even more good, but the human aspect of it will just prevent AI from kind of coming in. Like I'm just because in any field, especially with people who've studied years and years and years and had years and years and years and years of experience in it,
right.
there's gonna be a degree of ego in there, and you don't. I mean, everyone's gonna have a degree of ego when they've worked on something for that hard for that long, and
Hmm.
they've established some sort of security in their lives, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people will complain that some doctors have really high, like big egos. So what makes you think that if you came to them with an AI technology, that they would be like, yes, yes, let's implement this right away because patience. No, like
Yeah, we should be
I
cautious
mean,
before we run.
yeah, like let's be uber cautious. Like I understand being cautious about AI, right? Because you can't just have AI take over every single thing in the medical field, for example.
Right.
But you'll always come into these situations where people will be overly cautious about it. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think I just foresee that as being one of the issues. So we'll have like some areas where the adoption is pretty good. You'll have areas where the adoption is slower than you want it to be. Then you have bad actors starting to just they don't care. They're just going to use it. So we
Right.
just have to be mindful of where and when like they will be applying these technologies. But anyway, we can go on this topic for like ages.
For-
We're supposed to go on
Forever.
forecasting today.
I know, right? I wanted to see if I wish there was a way to like actually overlay us on this so that the screen didn't have to be that much smaller. But oh well.
It's pretty
Um.
good though with cuz our stream is 1080p, so you can just like zoom in on things if you really need to. But
Sure.
anyway, what is the general plan for the forecasting
So
stuff we're
the
demoing?
general plan for the forecasting is essentially to like show off how well Interpreter does data forecasting models.
Okay.
And so I figured I pulled a data set. Um, gosh, what is the name of it? You know it.
Kaggle? Was it from
You
Kaggle?
got it. Yep.
Yeah.
Um, and I pulled one that I figured I just had to go through all of them, including like the Netflix titles one, like so many of them that had plenty of rows worth of data, but not enough columns. So there wasn't like a whole lot to cross compare.
Yeah.
And so I basically threw one together and then went into Claude and asked Claude to create a persona for me that would embody somebody who's essentially a marketing forecaster, statistical forecaster for data
Yeah.
sets.
I just realized that the Kaggle website now has an H1 that says level up with the largest AI and ML community, machine learning community. So just
Yeah.
for people, yeah, go on the website. Anyway, just for context, everyone, Kaggle is a website that has tons and tons of data sets that you can use to just play around with. It's basically open source data sets, and a lot of data analysts, when they're starting off with their careers, are trying to build portfolios, and they can't really use sensitive data, or they don't have any data. They'll go onto Kaggle and find data sets for just data manipulation and stuff. I have to go to the main website on like without logging in.
Yeah. Wow. You can't just do it.
Wow.
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 Okay.
There you go. Level up with the largest AI, and they really their SEO people are on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, of all the times in which this site has been used, this has got to be like the number one, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they had really high usage back in the everyone wanted to be a data analyst kind of stage. I feel like that was about two years ago or something. Now that AI
That's
is
sick.
here, it's gonna be AI and machine learning stuff.
But yeah, I was gonna say, look, they've already got model uh model sets put together.
Pose det Even pose detection. That's crazy.
That's nuts.
Yeah, so you can technically use data from here to even train visual AI, like the AI that detects like um
Wow.
poses and movement. Wow, image augmentation. Wow. Like I said, Kaggle amazing website. Amazing for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, this is crazy. I really do need to start taking some time. What I need to
I
do
would
is
like
start
if
taking
we
some
could
time to like learn how to use an
yeah.
interpreter to start building stuff.
I was thinking like it'd be good if we could like try out the audio models at some
Right.
point and see if
Right.
code interpreter can even like take it in. Anyway, back to forecasting. It's
So,
just
and
sorry
I'm
guys,
just
it's just
like,
like our ADHD just coming into play.
sorry, this is just, I mean, like, this is how our conversations go too.
It just bounces
Hit up a
back and
topic
forth.
and then go. Yep. So
All
if
right,
you're like,
Nico.
you're noticing like all the personalization that goes along with this, and that comes
Yeah,
from the new
custom
updates that came
instructions.
out. Yeah, if you notice, it's now the August 3rd version. Custom instructions is a beta feature that you have to enable. And once you do enable it, guarantee you that you're going to have a lot more fun with all your GPT instances. I actually, me and George were comparing yesterday. I think my oldest one goes back to that I still have. I think I've deleted ones from before. The oldest one I
Yeah.
could find was back from February. Um, but at this point, I think I'm actually just going to go through and pretty much just clean house everything up until last month. Let's see
Can I
if
see
we can
the
pull.
Excel file that this came with?
Yes, you can.
What does that look like? All the tabs.
There it is.
All right. That is pretty substantial.
Yeah. Figured out throw some stuff in there.
Category, SKU, all the
You know what the only thing
payments.
I'm missing is dates. Forecast without dates. Son of a biscuit. I have to redo this, folks. You know what? Let me see if you can create a fictitious model.
Can you create fictitious dates for all of the entries?
Do I know how to spell? No, I don't. What is that?
This is why AI is going to replace us.
Are you serious? It's too.
It's
There's
two
a
T's,
comedian out
yes.
there that talks about how terrible English is and like
Oh, yeah.
puts things to, yeah, like, you know, he's like Q or Q, like QUE or QUEUE. It's like, it's all the same thing. It's just Q with 4 silent letters after it, right? But
Yeah.
anyway. Um,
I took language classes, so this was like a thing. And also, as a person who English is English is technically my first language, but I've been learning it in an Asian country, so I have a very interesting perspective of just language in general. Just everything is just confusing. At least with, I mean, I wouldn't say Chinese is like more consistent because some the words are kind of made up with like all the characters and stuff, but some languages have a little bit more consistency than English.
Let's see. All right.
Wow, it said it was a fun exercise. What are your custom instructions like?
I'll say. Randomize dates and go back 2 years. See, I
I've
always
added
do
a
that.
fictitious date column.
Yeah. Mix things up a bit.
I like how it asks you how to do the fictitious date thing.
I got to tell you, I never asked it to. I'm wondering why it keeps replying with emojis.
Maybe the whole friendly thing.
I
I feel like
guess.
the custom instructions are a little overtuned at the moment.
Could be.
If you say friendly, it goes overly friendly.
Show you my
But like
code
it's
quickly.
also
So
sometimes custom instructions plus your instructions at the top. I think it
could,
makes it crazier.
yeah. Yeah, that's right, because my custom instructions have to do with writing and like how I write versus so like my custom instructions for all for like overall purposes, basically I tell it who I am and what I do. And then I tell it what my writing style is like.
Yeah.
And then I tell it how I like to work, essentially. And then for how I want it to respond is that, you know, basically I want myself and GPT to always have as natural a conversation as possible. And at the same time, I like to know the why to everything. So I've told it essentially like, hey, you're going to keep telling me the explanations until I have to tell you to back off from telling me so many explanations.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I've told it to have its own opinion if it can do that. If you're asked to do something really creative, dig deep. Like I'm trying to get it. Yeah.
I think the overly friendly stuff might be coming from Claude because I also had the same issue when I made a Claude persona prompt essentially.
Really?
Yeah, it might be Claude's language, right? Because it's so friendly. And at the same time, the personality that it asks it to take on, and then plus whatever the custom instructions say, like the casual tone, it kind of amps it up. I think that might be what's happening. I'll have to test it out, but it basically I got the same result as you from using the Claude thing and also my custom instructions.
Let's see. Sweet. Okay, so we've got fictitious dates already. So we're trying to do like to start. So yeah, I mean, if me and Kristeen have talked about this before, and Kristeen actually posted about it this past week, so you can go check that out as well. That, you know, being, you know, I don't know, other people using GPT might be different. You know, we like to use it in the sense that you're working with somebody. So certainly like to look at it in the sense of like, I'm working with another person. So I like to be polite, nice, as responsive as I would be talking to another person, as opposed to like just talking to it, working with a tool and being like, do this and do that, and like never giving it any sort of, I don't know, sense of being needed, right? Because we all have that too, right? Let's see, time series analysis.
It's just good being a nice person in general. I don't see why like people are weird about it.
Let's see.
Right. So we're asking it to create a forecasting model.
And what do
It wants to choose the model though that you want to use. Maybe is what it's saying. Choice of model. There are various models to choose from depending on the nature of data. Okay. Forecasting model for the increase and decrease of MRP. Our forecasting escapade.
right? I love it because that's the thing is like now you feel like you're going on an adventure with GPT.
Right. Data prep, time series analysis.
Let's dive into the abyss with the wave of the chart.
Those are pretty good emoji
I was
selection.
gonna say like
Yeah.
it well, and because it has that, right? It has that whole at least up until 21 for most of its data sets, it has the understanding of like emoji language and what it's supposed to represent. Uh-oh. Oh, there are. Okay, good. Good deal.
It
I thought I had
apologizes
cleaned
for
them all up.
overlooking it.
Yeah, yeah. Every time, like whenever I've tried doing, um, like what I love to use, to use interpreter for is shorthand stuff. So instead of oh snap,
I said, oh
I'm gonna go,
snap. Oh my god.
wow, we could still pivot given
Hmm.
situations.
I'm gonna go and like update my custom instructions. Revisit the data set. Provide more data. Or do you want to ask it to generate like random values for the nil columns?
Hmm.
I think you should tell it that your main goal is that you're just trying to get some data to play with or something.
Um,
Like it isn't for an official report. We're just playing around.
yeah. I'd like to see what it does, knowing that it can like flub.
I appreciate the clarity. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Chat.
Right? It's so nice of you to do that.
Wow, okay, and then the random value thing, it already understood that the value should be based off of the series of that column.
Yep.
That's pretty smart because I was thinking like, do I have to tell it specifically?
Yeah. And that's the thing is like asking it to replace it. Just the fact that it made its own choice there, right?
Yeah. And then it started working on it. It's literally how you would want to work with an intern. Because some interns you might like give them basic instructions and they'll follow it to a T.
Yeah. I wonder. I guess it meant that there's some cells that have no value.
Hang tight.
Wow. Okay.
Wow, I like how it's just giving you emojis at the end of like everything. Yeah.
And it wasn't doing that yesterday, so you're right in that it was a
Probably Claude mixed with the custom instructions.
Man, this has happened so many times where it seems like a very straightforward data set that we're working with, and yet it starts tripping pretty badly.
But that's interesting though, because like I said, whenever I do data cleanup, I have to spend hours just to find these anomalies and fix them. Now with Code Interpreter, you can essentially just dump it in there and it'll fix it. But I mean, you do still have to exercise caution with private data. So I'm kind of curious how this would be employed in Playground. Because yeah, if they have the code interpreter interface in Playground, then it should be fine. But if they don't,
Yeah.
then like, do I API it and stuff?
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
I'm truly baffled. Okay. I like that it tried, and then
Yeah.
after trying it, realized.
And then it just kind of died. Come
Oh
on.
no! Is
Did it
it?
time out?
Do we
Really?
have rate? Do we have rate limits?
No, definitely haven't hit the rate limit. Okay, let's see if we could just go from
The
scratch.
clone. Are you testing it without the Claude thing?
Yeah.
That's true, because like I said last week, sometimes it doesn't perform as efficiently when you have the persona applied already.
What's it? MRP? Column. Yes. Um, let's see what else.
See how that works. All right.
Okay. So now we're just going to go with the straightforward instructions. Going to kind of ignore all the pre-programming. Looks like we've immediately lost the emojis.
Yeah,
I really want to
yeah,
know,
exactly.
like, that's so weird to me that a non, because like there's
Cause
nothing in
yeah,
here that tells it to like reply in a certain way or
but it says stuff like in your work you take great pride in your ability. So there's like a lot of positivity coming from that. Notice you will apply your expertise and extract meaning from those folks and understand accurate and useful to turn numbers into.
because that's the thing.
Maybe it's maybe
Doesn't
it's
know
the
how to
language
read.
that Claude uses. Yeah.
Yeah, Claude is super like conversational language.
Exactly. Because I had the same problem again. But mine, they did say, okay, you have to take into account the
It's
other
still
person
doing it.
and all that other stuff. Oh,
It's from
wow.
my custom instructions,
Yeah.
which means that
But
it's changed because this wasn't doing it like before. Let's say.
it wasn't doing it as, like, now it's kind of doing it less frequently or not as wildly as with the Claude prompt.
Right. Yeah, it's not doing it after every single sentence.
Yeah. Like I said, it feels like it's
Yeah.
building off of each other when you have that multi-prompt going on.
Yeah.
Because I think how custom instructions work is just, it just tells, like, it says, oh, this is the person you're talking to dump of text, almost as if like you're copy pasting your normal prompts or something.
Go.
Okay, still did it. But
Yeah, I think
it's not as
It's not as overt.
hyped.
Yeah.
It's not as hyped as the previous
There's something in my
session.
custom oh, you know what? It's because my instruction, like my custom instructions also have to do with like um writing output
Social media.
for social, yeah. So
Oh, look, it used the monkey emoji.
yeah, first name with a no values. Okay. I'm sure it's still gonna come back tripped up. Yep.
Oh
Commas
snap!
in
Like a
MLL?
what
Okay,
emoji should
okay,
use
okay,
there?
okay. Let's
Oh,
just make this
it's
a
the
lot easier together.
face palm emoji.
Right. Let's see. Let's just do this. 'Cause it's having a huge issue just handling these as numbers. God, can't we just do rounded?
Is it having an issue because there's 3 decimal points?
No, it's having an issue like wherever there are like null and nil values.
Oh, with the dollar signs. Oh, and then the nil.
Shit.
Isn't there a find and replace function on this?
Yeah. Do we want to just do it with any
Or
random?
or your instructions didn't specifically tell it to delete the rows with nils. You
No.
just said like ignore it.
Okay, so there's nothing with no value. Okay, let's try this one more time. So,
But then like over there on the side now with the Curta set, it says 500.
oh, yeah, because it was oh, because there was no in
It was
there?
nil on that column.
No, it had names in here.
Some of the ones at the bottom.
Oh. Oh, I see what you mean. Shit. Is it gonna trip if it says like I can't find?
Does find and replace work with columns?
It works with any selection.
Mm.
Selected you could do the entire column.
His hang tight. But did it do anything after that? No.
Should have said ignore the first file. Damn.
Let's start fresh with this new file.
I know. I really dislike whenever it's like we're 4 minutes to the end. We haven't forecasted a single.
I guess it's like one thing that we learned, it still kind of gets a bit confused with data sets that aren't super clean. Because there were times when I was fixing the LinkedIn stuff from last week where it accidentally deleted the values in a certain column, and then I had to ask it to put it back in.
Sorry about that, Kristeen. Didn't think you needed that.
I was like, this is the whole, because I said, okay, so when are the best dates? And it told me, yeah, so the date column is empty. And both of my files had dates in it. So I don't know how that happened. You just deleted it by yourself. Had to apologize to me. Zoom. I just hit the gas and zoom ahead with the forecasting.
A little, and it's like, and here's the funny part: it's using a smiley emoji.
Yeah, that makes
So,
it more
like,
enjoyable. Okay. Roger that, Nico.
I love how it's responding.
Strap
Let's get to
in.
it then, buddy. All right. So even though we only had like 20 minutes left, like this is how crazy. Like so when like George was asking me like, okay, well, what are the practical applications or whatever? And it's like, this is how crazy it is. We ended up like starting with like 25 minutes left. There were all sorts of like initial file issues. Um, just hammered all that out. And so here we're starting with like 2 minutes left, but it's still actually, powering through. Let's see. Yeah, let's just go.
ARIMA model for forecast. So I don't even know what these models are.
Yeah,
Which I
that's
mean,
the
I
thing
can look
is
them up
like,
afterwards to see if they actually are the best models. But the fact that it recommends these models and essentially tells you about it makes you research it afterwards. And if you really are resourceful about this, you'd create another instance of ChatGPT, maybe with Web Pilot, and then ask it about ARIMA. Or, if you
right.
have Bing, right? If you just use your normal Bing search, you
Mm-hmm.
can ask to find that information for you.
Oh. I always want to like be able to put a finger on like, oh, it's gonna work this time, but it's like I have no clue because it's busy. It's busy building its own like code back here, running whatever it needs to run in Python in order to actually get this to work. So
Yeah. And I suspect sometimes if the request is too complicated to handle in Python, that's when things get messy. At least in its infancy as a code interpreter, because it's still in beta, right?
yeah,
I think with GPT-5 or a few more updates to this, it'll get better, but I think it'll still take time. At least from what I understand about coding and data cleanup and all that other stuff, it is a very complex task. So I'm not even mad that it what do you call that it struggles a bit with this.
let's see.
Reference a valuable from earlier on that got lost when we switched gears. Yeah. At least it understands now that yeah, that it made a
Okay.
mistake.
Let's
Oh, Raz says it's probably due to the code interpreter's environment's memory limitations. Yeah, that could be playing into it as well if the data set is huge, right? Because
That's
the data
possible.
set is part of the prompt.
Oh, really? Oh no.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
it's hitting its memory limitations.
good Lord.
So the file itself might actually be like really
Too
too huge
large.
for it.
Okay.
I wonder if Playground gives you a bit more flexibility with that. Let me
Um,
just double
it
check.
gives you a little bit more. A
Yeah.
lot like people ask me if I use it over regular. It's like kind of, but not really.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of saying, Raz,
Like
right?
you have
Like,
more input,
yeah, Raz
but I really
said
wish it
I
was.
hope we can get it in Playground soon. So it's not on Playground. Yeah, because I
Oh,
think if it were
interpreter.
in Playground, Code Interpreter would be so powerful because essentially you don't have as many limitations. But at least from what we're seeing in just the beta version of it, even with small data sets, it still makes mistakes in how it writes the Python code for cleaning up the data.
Whoops.
Yeah, I'm sure when it hits Playground, it's just OpenAI is probably going to crash or something because everyone's going to be using it.
I mean, like that's the thing is every time they come out with any new feature, right? All of a sudden there's like a wealth of limitations that pop up. The whole 25 per 3 hours was pretty restricting. Cool.
Oh my god, I hope it can handle it now.
It should be able to. It's like 1/3 of the data. So I think it was like 1,700 and now it's 600. Done and dusted. Nice. I'm gonna have to steal that one from you, GPT. Sure.
Kind of thinking though, what are some applications from HubSpot that we can explore for next time? Like, do we like exporting contacts, for example? You probably have to remove the email addresses, but if you could get some of the industry data, maybe number of deals, deal amount, maybe you can create some sort of visualization or insights on which industries are actually giving you the most money or something in your HubSpot portal.
Oh. See if we can do that. I'm speaking your language now. Awesome.
All right. Maybe another thing to explore is exporting deals on HubSpot.
Oh, okay.
Right? We could export if we could create some dummy deals or
Deal
something,
data.
export it, have some data on like new business, existing business, industry, maybe. And then also have the company name on the deal record. We'd have to use a workflow for that. But I think that would be a really good case for some HubSpot based forecasting.
I mean, that's actually, Raz, that's actually a really cool idea.
Mm.
It wasn't successful per se, but still impressive. Okay, so
Oh,
here's a
hey.
forecasting model we did for basically broke every MRP down into its own pipeline channel.
Mm.
Oddly enough, the model looks the exact same for every representation, or almost every representation. Yep, it's good thing.
Let's
Linear
crank this
registration
out.
model.
I'm like learning new phrases to use from this.
Right. So
Done
like
and
again,
dusted. Yeah.
like realistically, let's see what I had to reformat that last file. If you're just counting that reformat, because I'm not like I don't I'm not somebody that knows a whole hell of a lot about forecasting models, but the fact that we're able to even get this far within 10-15 minutes is a lot further than I would have ever gotten in a single day. So even using like YouTube University.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know most of this stuff when it comes to forecasting. Like, what is a mean squared error, an R2 score, and stuff? And like, are these things that Amazon and all these other e-commerce platforms are using? Even doing this exercise with the dummy data from Kaggle is already teaching me things about what I don't know about different industries. And say you're working with an e-commerce client and you don't know what perspective they have when it comes to forecasting, because forecasting in different industries means different things. Some people, when they say forecasting, they just want to see, oh, when is the money coming in to the company, right?
Yeah.
Some people, when they say forecasting, they mean, okay, based off of how we've been closing deals, how many of that, like what is our revenue going to look like or some sense, right? Because I feel like forecasting just has different definitions, right? So at least with this, it does give you insight into what your client could be thinking about, what could you potentially put into HubSpot maybe, or any other CRM for recording stuff, or if you have to build a dashboard for somebody, is there a way that you can implement your HubSpot setup so that you can create those dashboards that they need? What is future performance going to look like in Q4?
So here's something that like I would have wanted to, like we were talking about, like, oh, what's the application, right? And like you said, we really need to do this for next week. We need to start doing some dummy customers, dummy deal data, dummy companies. Like we'll fill up our HubSpot with tons of data, and so that we can start pulling that in and showing that, like, let's say reference. Let's guess if you want to. Let's see, random nature of the dates.
Yeah.
Of course, from the random dates. But yeah, I'd like to pull this in to be able to do those kind of that kind of model forecasting, right? Because that's not, I mean, yes, we can build some of those reports in HubSpot, and we can build some forecasting in HubSpot, but it's like really, really basic by comparison.
Yeah, that's why I usually, for at least reporting side of things with HubSpot, it's good, but it could be a lot better. But I also understand why the reporting side of it isn't as wholly developed, because obviously HubSpot has so many different areas to it at the moment, and each hub has so many different features to maintain and also update, right? So
Mhm.
I'm I know I've spoken to a couple of the people who are working on the reports on HubSpot, so I think it's going to be better. But with reporting, it requires a lot of the infrastructural, like it requires a lot of infrastructural backend changes. So I assume it'll be like 2024 before we can get like really crazy reporting out of HubSpot. But in the meantime, really where you get the most reports are from connecting it to a visualization platform like Power BI, Databox. What is that Google one? It's not Data Studio anymore. They renamed it. But yeah, you have to do the like come up with the calculations yourself and kind of know how to tinker with the data to create custom visualizations. But in any case, like, yeah, if we can get at least the raw data, some show you what the raw data of HubSpot can do within Code Interpreter, I think that'd be like really, really good.
Yeah.
What would give us a more accurate view of Q4 revenue? Yeah, so this is also good though, because even
Right.
if you have an imperfect data set, it can give you insights into what you need to do to actually build the infrastructure so that you can generate the analysis that you want. So, I mean, one example I can think of in the stuff that I've done is, for example, ClickUp and profitability. It's a bit
Mhm.
difficult right now because how it stores time tracking, and then it doesn't exactly have the prices for each employee and also the projects. So you could go to ChatGPT and ask it how we could potentially fix that, or where can we input the data in another source to connect those things.
Wow. So it's like, even though I wanted to use a model that seems like it would be good, right? Because before it was saying, well, it's an issue because of the random dates. So it's like, okay, well, maybe we need to use an ARIMA model,
Mm.
because it can handle complex patterns and seasonality. And so it's like, yeah, well,
Yes.
it can, but there's actually aspect of it apparently.
Yes, we do stream regularly. So every
Yep.
Sunday at 10 ET. So around this time. As long as you come around this time, you'll see us.
Yep. Yeah, and we're actually going to start cutting clips and doing all our homework.
Yeah, I've started doing clips, and yeah, if you have us on LinkedIn, you'll see them. And I'm trying to upload them on YouTube Shorts. I'm not sure how successful that's gonna be.
We'll
I
see.
uploaded one, but I feel I'm kind of like bracing myself for negative negative comments. Hey, you
Oh
don't
my
know what you're talking about. Like, that's true. I'm just having fun here. At least, okay, so one thing I was going to point out with like just my observations with
Mhm.
how with code interpreter, right? So it hasn't gone to that stage yet where it can think a little bit further ahead in terms of potential problems with
Yeah,
the data sets, right? So right now it's very step by step, which okay, for an intern, okay, right? But you want this to be a full on assistant. You want it to get
right.
past the intern stage, or you want it to be an intern that is actually highly specialized, right? So, at least I think where it will be headed is that it will eventually reach a point where it can look through the data and really think about the long term use of it and what needs to be done, because right now, like, yeah, it seems to be more reactive.
Nice. So it did actually manage to do it. Um,
Okay.
I did it by using scenario analysis,
Yeah.
um, which may not be the most accurate way of doing it, which is potential outcomes, allowing for better strategic planning and risk management. Remember, the percentages used in the scenario are adjustable based on specific business insights or market dynamics. So you can even sort of go in and I don't know how you would. I mean, I actually don't know at all. So I take that back entirely because I was expecting to open this up and see like a little bit more detail on numerically how it arrived at that, but I'm assuming that it just
You
ran
can
the
ask
code
it, right?
against the sheet. Oh, so,
Yeah, because I've done that before. I'm like, I don't understand how you came up with this.
mhm. Yeah, because let's say here's a good one in terms of like how you could apply this to HubSpot. Your customer, your client gives you a reporting scenario that you've never even heard of before. Because maybe it's something from like Marketo or something that I don't know. They were able to build in. Um, for some reason, they were able to build it in Salesforce, and you couldn't build it in HubSpot. It's a really easy way of being able to take that question, bring it into Code Interpreter, and say, okay, what's the easiest way for me to be able to represent this on a graph, right, or on a chart? And so it kind of breaks it down for you to be able to know, okay, I had to calculate the average mean of the historical revenue data. This represents the typical revenue we might expect based on past data. So now you know like why it, not only like what it did, but why it's doing it.
Yeah, and I'd say also, just having it represented on a spreadsheet, right? Because I mean, it you kind of hate to say this, but essentially everything is a spreadsheet to some degree, right? So with deal records on HubSpot, contact records on HubSpot, what fields do I have to have in there, and what kind of fields do they need to be? So does it have to be a custom calculation? Do I have to create workflows for it? Does it necessitate us purchasing operations hub so we can create those calculations, or do we need to upgrade so that we can get the data models feature on HubSpot as well? So
Mm-hmm.
going through this exercise, yeah, even though we kind of gone went through a few hiccups and stuff, we still learned a lot from it.
That's really
You're represented in a visual manner that is more appealing than a simple bar chart.
nice.
Please give me something more
I'm just
interesting.
wondering. Look, you're putting. Let's say you're putting a
Waterfall
spread
chart.
or not spreadsheet, but you're putting a presentation together.
Yeah,
Spreadsheet,
bar charts don't actually like look that nice. Let's
right?
create this piece of art. When you see more like wiggly lines, it seems more professional.
Yeah,
Or if
right.
you're gonna create a bar chart, it has to have more values in it.
Be more dynamic, yeah, at least.
Yeah. That one
Let's
looks
see
like
what
you
it comes
just
out.
generated it from, I don't know, like when
Like,
you're in elementary school and they teach you Excel, that's the first chart you create.
oh, okay.
Oh
Well, I
wow.
mean, there is some dynamic to it. It's not exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
Could also be based on like the type of reporting that we did, but you can't really turn that
true.
into a 3D representation. Let's see.
Let's keep the creativity. It's so encouraging. Thank you. Thank you for making me feel like I'm important.
I want to see if it.
3D representation. Let's see how far it goes. I mean, otherwise, you can just tell it what colors you want.
Yeah, I
Because I
imagine.
want it to be more
Like,
pastel or something. I don't want it to be as bright. Like, I don't want you to use whatever was in the color wheel of Microsoft that is just the basic red, the basic blue, and the basic green.
right. Okay, let's about this last visualization and then.
Yeah, let's generate this last one and then let's wrap up. Is it gonna be? I feel like our episodes are slowly getting to the 1 hour 30 minutes. But it seems
They're
like people
crawling
are
away
liking
there.
it though. Like some people have messaged me. They're like, I actually watched the thing. I'm
Yeah,
like,
well, I mean,
okay,
that's the thing is like we do cover a fair amount. I mean, the news that we covered in the beginning was well worth the time. I mean, it's not like
wow.
amazing, right? I was expecting a lot better, so I kind of want like now this makes me want to go look up different
We'll just have to
something.
play around with it. How to make the visualizations it creates a
I
little
love
bit more
the
sophisticated.
automated Escher that it did right there,
Oh,
right? It's
yeah,
on top of it. No, it isn't, but it is, but it's not.
yeah. Maybe next time we can play around with giving it branding guidelines.
Yeah, I would like to do that.
Yeah.
Actually, to even have it like start generating a business, like the whole thing, like have it generate a company, fictitious numbers for it, the
Yeah.
whole thing.
I mean, I'm sure we can like use this to generate some fictitious like company names and to import into HubSpot.
Yeah.
And also some of the help generate some random deals and stuff.
Wow. One of these days, I'll learn how to type consistently.
Okay, yeah, it can I'm sure it can generate it. You just have to specify what kind of sheet you're looking for, what fields.
Yeah, that's what I'd have to go grab. Is like all the field data that we need.
Yeah, we
But
can do
very
this.
cool.
We can do that afterwards.
Yep.
Anyway, all right. So just to wrap up, like yeah, beginning of the show, we briefly talked about like the ExpressVPN layoffs and how that is potentially going to affect people without access to AI because yeah, pretty big layoffs at ExpressVPN. It's going to be less of a premium brand, so you'll have to find a different VPN provider if you are reliant on ExpressVPN, I think. And then we briefly talked about GPT-5 as well and how that is potentially going to change the AGI landscape and just introduce a lot of new changes by December,
Yeah,
probably. Did they
more than
confirm
likely.
that? Is it or is it just
It's
speculation?
not confirmed. The comment that was able to be taken from Altman at the time was just that they were looking
Yeah.
at December. They said that it would likely be around that time. So
Yeah.
it's not like it's a Christmas drop or something like that. You guys have to sort of keep in mind that it's a non-for-profit company that's being run by a guy who almost doesn't care about money, basically.
Yeah.
Um, and to put it into perspective, he is good friends with another one of the top LLM guys who stepped down from Google, who was in a recent interview and is being asked about his apparel and how he gets made fun of because of his apparel, and he's like, I don't have time for it. I wear $12 shirts from Walmart. Like, why?
Yeah.
What's the point?
I mean, same, honestly.
So
But
like these
anyway,
are the
like,
types of guys that are doing it. So
yeah,
but yeah, go on too much if you don't cover me.
yeah. Was it? And then yeah, we went through like that whole data thing. So next week we are going to try doing stuff with code interpreter and data with HubSpot. Hopefully that
Mhm.
will be like really interesting for people who are looking for very like specific use cases and yeah, just figuring out how you can actually use AI with HubSpot, especially with ChatSpot not being completely there yet and code interpreter just being, you know, much better.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this
Ready.
episode. Definitely gonna try to upload, or we'll upload this to the channel and get some. Kristeen's gonna get some clips.
All right. See you next week,
See you guys next
everyone.
week.